Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are back on the update 1.101 dev server, and it's time to have a look at the Thunderbolt Mark.1. You can see this look at as the same as one for the P47 D22RE, because they're basically the same machine. This is the D22, it has a pretty cool engine, obviously the 8 12.7s, and it's a Razorback P47, and this is a D23 version, the Thunderbolt Mark.1. The major difference is this one is in the British tree compared to the American tree, and it's also premium. So I thought, why not cover this one instead of doing a video for both of them. So the Thunderbolt Mark.1 is a rank 3 battle racing 4.3 vehicle. It finds itself here in the tech tree, and it is going to be at least right now on the dev server, 1600 GE at rank 3, which, will actually be kind of nice. It gives you a nice CAS option. It also gives you a nice high altitude interceptor or high altitude fighter, which you can use a lot, and at 4.7 you have a pretty nice lineup when it comes to Britain, the Firefly, the Churchill, and of course the Avenger, or even an AA if you want to throw it in, or if you have something like the Trizniak, you can throw that in, and the Thunderbolt gives you a nice CAS option to be able to run with it. So this thing does have rewards of 444% RP, which isn't the best, but look at that reward for SL, 810%. This is going to just print SL. This is going to make a ton of moolah, and it'll do it at a very low repair cost with a ton of repairs attached to it, since it's a premium. 30 free repairs with this machine. So you could use this as a ground pounder, you could use this as a general fighter, you can use this as pretty much whatever you want. When it comes to the ground pounding role, or the CAS role though, it does have access to some really nice armaments. It has access to the 10 HVARs, the 2 1000s, and the 1 500. The general standard loadout is the one, this one that you use, at least when it comes to ground. What this does is give you 2 separate bomb drops. The 1000s drop at the same time, and then you have the single 500 in the center, and of course the HVAR rockets to try and create a ruckus. So you can do a lot of damage with this in ground realistic. You can also do a lot of damage with this in air realistic if you want to. I would definitely say take it as the fighter role in air realistic though, since it's going to be very similar to the other P47s, which are great fighters. This thing is powered by the Pratt & Whitney R2800 63 18-cylinder radial, 2000 horsepower max with a takeoff of 2300. Also has oil cooling system up and down, then a fuel tank between the pilot and everybody else. Something I do want to mention at this point is they actually added protection analysis to planes. So I don't exactly know why. I don't really know its use, but it is, I suppose, nice to see. You can, see how much damage something like a 12.7 can do to a plane, or maybe if you have something slightly different, such as like a German machine with a TAR 151, you can see, like with the 30mm, how much damage that's going to do, to your vehicle. What is it actually going to do to hurt, the general lookout. But you can only fire one at once. Hopefully you can fire multiple just to see what goes on, and you can see what angles, I suppose, try and defend yourself from. So yeah, they have added protection analysis now for naval, ground, and aviation. It's all in the game. But the Thunderbolt does have some nice armor as well. Between the engine and the pilot, you have this 38mm set of bulletproof glass. I'm not sure that's right, that might be slightly wrong. And there's also some steel here. I feel like this bulletproof glass is supposed to be up here, and the steel is supposed to be here, just as a general point of course. So just swap these two around, pretty sure that's how it's supposed to be. And as we talked about before, 8 50 cals, which you can never go wrong with. 50 cals are very powerful, especially if they're M2s or M3s. The reason for this is because of the rounds that you can bring. Remember, this is a premium vehicle, so you get all of these modifications for free. You don't have to grind them out. What you get is what you see, and with the APIT, the 12.7s, you get some tracer belts, which are absolutely wonderful. 23mm of pen, which is fine for air forces, and these things light fires on everything. They tear planes apart, especially since you have concentrated fire from 8 50 cal. So if you can get your convergence correct, you are just going to shred. You could also run stealth as well, which is very good, or ground targets, which does have the slightly increased pen. This can actually go through the top of stuff like Panzer IVs, so you can really mess with German tankers' days being able to run it. You also have a universal belt, but I don't know why you'd take it over the other 3 options. So yeah, these M2 50 cals should be feared. They are very good. And not just that, what 50 cals give you is a ton of ammunition too. 3400 across 8 guns, so you are always going to be able to outlast in a fight, especially against the majority of planes that you're going to fight at this level. The skin itself is also lovely. Whoever made this camouflage should be very proud of themselves. It is an absolutely stunning one, and it even has a skull in an ace of spades at the front, which looks particularly beautiful. So unfortunately it doesn't have any other camouflages, but I feel like this is going to be a perfect candidate for some user skins and also some stuff like on market skins, so I'm going to be really happy to see them, or just crossover skins from the D22 from the American tech tree, which would also be lovely to see. You could also bring this thing into naval as well, if you wanted to, just as a interceptor, you know, as an attacker of other planes, or also just as a bomb with those 1000-pounders. You can do a lot of damage to destroyers, and since generally I like playing 4-3 and below, so you don't get into the cruiser BRs, this is the perfect BR to run with them, to make a little bit of SL, but also, you know, a little bit of everything else. Also, for arcade air battles, you could run it with stuff like the Spitfires, you could run it with stuff such as the Typhoon, you could toss the Firebrand away because it's trash, but you could also run it with, you know, some bombers if you want, or some other Spitfires, so you do have a lot of options when it comes to this vehicle. Overall, I'm just really happy to see this. It's something that I feel like a lot of people have been waiting for a long time for. Stuff such as the Razorback P-47s. They are really, really iconic to the history of America and also just World War II in general, and it's finally great to see them in the game. You know, we've had bubble canopy P-47s for a very long time, and they've been expanded for an incredibly long time too. You know, you have the oh, by the way, the cockpit does open and you can see all of the wonderful formation over there. Doesn't that look awesome? My god, like, the mission editor is just such a wonderful tool in War Thunder. But the cockpit is of course different. And as I was saying before, we have stuff like the P-47D-28, the other P-47Ds, the P-47N, the P-47M. We have so many different P-47s, and finally to have 2 Razorbacks in the game definitely is just wonderful. You know, it's one of those things which cannot be overstated, one of those things that I'm personally very happy with. And as a person who is generally much more interested in the history of the Second World War instead of the Cold War and the modern day, it's just remarkable for me personally to play these things. Now, generally when it comes to P-47s, you do want to engage a little bit higher than this, but we can always have a bit of fun, and you can see the wonderful traces everywhere and just having a blast. If you've never done mission editor missions, by the way, I highly recommend them. You can just run around, and it's a great way to practice your shooting. So if you're like new with a vehicle, or if you're trying to, you know, work out how a vehicle works or anything like that, you can definitely do that. The P-47 is very much what I would class as an energy fighter. It relies a lot on its speed to be able to get anything done. If it lacks speed, it lacks maneuverability, so therefore you need to keep its speed up, and you need to generally be higher than your opponents, whether it be in, you know, whether it be in altitude or whether it be in general speed itself. So for me, I'm always trying to keep up the energy advantage on enemies. It has a ridiculous dive to it as well, which has always been a great factor of the P-47. It is able to also wep as much as it wants. It's just something which is kind of easy to fly once you master the simple steps, which is patience, not diving on the first thing that you see in the world, you know, not diving on the first enemy that you see, generally diving on stuff at the end. Try and let your allies, you know, like set up the enemies for you, and then you come in and just deal with them at the end. That is, you know, the main tenets of stuff like this, and the main tenets of the P51. Never engage too early, never engage too quickly, and instead run around and do some really wonderful stuff at the end of battles. One thing to mention though, with the fact that this vehicle is going to be on the same team as Spitfires a lot of the time, the Spitfires are wonderful defensive fighters. They set up kills so easily, so this is going to be a perfect opportunity for you to either squad up with people or just use your teammates to set up kills and you finish them off. And as I said, because of the amount of ammunition you have, because of the fact that you have this vehicle with so much stuff going on with it, you're going to be able to do that, you know, in just a wonderful way. It just makes me happy. Like, if there was nothing else in this update, if there was just the Razorback P47s and that was it, that would be it for me. You know, I'd be content. And right now, this update I'm incredibly content with, because of the fact that we have not just this, but also a bunch of other machines, which are lovely to see. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Battling Bacon, Blackie, Chris Giltnane, Conte Baraka, Daniel Stanton, Elove Goat, Jay Wilt, Martinez, Trigger Hippie, Universe, Eugens Terry, and also I'm Devilish and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.